My Hero Academia, all grown up. Chapter 44. Let me see that thing. Kirishima didn't leave time for an option as he snatched the keychain from Bakugou's hand and held it up in front of him. It doesn't look very special to me. Bakugou snatched it back. That's evidence, jackass. It's not a fucking toy. Well, I'm the one that's supposed to hold on to it, right? Kirishima tried to snatch it back, but it was pulled out of his reach. Not so fast. Bakugou spat and opened his palm to look at the shiny silver snake. Its red gemstone eyes glinted in the sunlight. This is an interagency operation, not the Kirishima show. The redhead cackled as he leaned back on the park bench. The sky was a steady hue of yellow, orange, and pink. When will you learn that it's always time for the Kirishima show? Bakugou grumbled as he looked down at his watch. She's late. Mina's always late, dude. She lives by that. Bakugou turned a cold gaze on his friend. Well, she's about to die by it. This is an interagency operation. Kirishima rolled his eyes with a smirk. You've only said that 1,000,000 times now, man. Just chill. You've been in your new position for a week, and the only accomplishment you've made is somehow shoving that stick further up your ass. Don't sweat it so much, Bakugou. We're all professionals here. That's debatable. Bakugou grumbled as he checked the time again. Kirishima glanced at his friend sitting beside him and let the silence hang in the air between them for a little while longer before clearing his throat. Hey dude, can we talk for a minute? Bakugou turned and gave the redhead a harsh glare. We're right in the middle of something, dipshit. We're waiting, Kirishima shrugged. And it's not like we're on a huge time crunch or anything. You're calling it an interagency operation, but it's more of an experiment. The blonde sniffed in annoyance. Well, spit it the fuck out then. I know something's been itching your ass for about a week now, but somehow you've managed to not scratch it until the most inconvenient time possible. Kirishima rolled his eyes. This is serious conversation, man. It's not a joke. That's a first. Bakugou glanced at the watch once more. Well, hurry the fuck up before the idiot shows up and annoys me to death. Kirishima scratched the back of his head. Well, that's sort of the thing, Bakugou. It's about that idiot you keep referring to. Pinky? Kirishima nodded once and swallowed. Yeah, Pinky. I've been waiting for a good time to tell you, but lately, there hasn't really been a good time for any sort of conversation. So now seems like as good a time as any. So I just dash. You don't have to say it, dumbass. Bakugou grumbled. It's fucking obvious. Kirishima's jaw dropped open and a long pause followed. It is? Yeah. Bakugou shrugged. She and Kachako have been fighting or some shit. I've been avoiding it like the damn plague, so I'm sure you're probably getting ready to lecture me about being a shitty boyfriend. Kirishima raised his eyebrows in shock before a chortle of laughter graced his lips. Hold on a second, Bakugou. Are you telling me that you haven't talked to Uraraka at all about her and Mina? Fuck no. Bakugou stated like it was the most obvious answer in the world. I already deal with Pinky enough when I'm around you, but Kachako? I'd rather keep that entire fucked up situation at a distance. It's not my damn problem. Kirishima couldn't hide his laughter. Oh my god, dude, how are you so fucking dense? What the hell is that supposed to mean? The blonde turned a callous look on his friend. Kirishima shrugged despite his laughter. You know that when you started mad crushing on Uraraka, it was blatantly fucking obvious to me, right? Mina too, but that's beside the point. The point is that I, being your best pal and ride-or-die partner over all these years, could tell almost immediately that you had a major thing for that girl. Bakugou gathered up the worst scowl he could and turned it on his ride-or-die partner. So, you just want to throw it in my face that you're such an observational friend? Congratulations, Kirishima. And no, Kirishima sputtered with giggles and threw his head back over the bench in disbelief. It just majorly cracks me up that you've managed to pick up on the fact that Mina and your girlfriend have been bickering a teeny tiny bit lately, but you haven't picked up on the fact that your best buddy of how many years has started dating someone. Bakugou jerked his head towards his friend with a flat glare. I knew I could smell bullshit on your breath. I'm being serious, man. Kirishima cackled and shook his head, motioning his hands to himself. I'm getting laid and everything. The whole shebang. I've got myself a quality, top-notch lady with brains and looks that could make a man kill. Bakugou blinked at him a few times. Like any woman in this entire fucking world would be dumb enough to go out with you. Kirishima clapped him on the shoulder. Dude, you are such a hypocrite, but somehow, against all logic, you managed to fool Uraraka into not only becoming your girlfriend, but also having a weeks-long back-and-forth naughty dash. Would you shut the fuck up? Bakugou swatted Kirishima's hand away from his shoulder. And don't talk about kachako that way. That's my point. Kirishima threw his hands up in the air. If you could convince a beautiful and smart woman to not only date you but also sleep with you, then I should have no problem. My original statement still stands. Bakugou scoffed. The only woman stupid enough to date you is Pinky herself. Kirishima watched as the blonde turned his head away and looked down the street. You know, man, I really don't appreciate you talking about my girlfriend that way. The redhead watched as Bakugou leaned his elbows on his knees and looked down at the sidewalk for a long moment. A chilly silence filled the air before Bakugou finally turned his head to look at his friend. You're lying. I'm not. Kirishima shrugged and cocked his head, relaxing into the back of the bench. Bakugou sighed and looked back down again for another minute before sitting up and running a hand through his hair. Of all the women in the world, Kirishima? She's the one, man. Bakugou turned again to see his friend giving him a rare but solemn look. Be happy for me, dude. Bakugou licked his lips and sat back and nodded. Fuck you, Kirishima. The redhead laughed lightly. Fuck you too, man. A silence settled over the pair as they looked at the slowly darkening city around them, but it was Bakugou who spoke first. I'm not Buzzbrain, or any of the others. They'll shit their pants when you tell them, but I'm not them. I know, Kirishima nodded, neither man looking at the other. Bakugou took a long breath before nodding. But fucking hell, Kirishima. It took you long enough to nut up and ask that girl out. All right, Kirishima chuckled and shoved the blonde's shoulder. You don't need to be a jackass about it. And you're one to talk. Bakugou shifted his weight away from the redhead. I'm a jackass for a living, and just because you're my one and only fucking friend doesn't mean you get a pass. Kirishima's laugh softened into a smile. So, I have your blessing then? Bakugou was silent for a while before he turned to look at his friend. My opinion doesn't fucking matter. I take whatever side kachako is on. God, Kirishima couldn't help the rumbling laugh building in his gut. You're so full of shit. I guess we're both whipped. Bakugou turned a scornful eye on him. You and Pinky plotted against kachako and I for months, so it's our fucking turn to mess with you too. Hey guys. Both men tensed at the teasing and flirtatious tone coming their way. They both turned their heads to see Mina trotting up with a massive smile. Sorry I'm late. Oh God. Bakugou grumbled in annoyance, but jerked his head back when Kirishima grabbed his shoulder and whispered. Don't say anything to Uraraka about Mina and I, please. Let Mina be the one to tell her. She's been trying to for weeks, but you've been monopolizing Uraraka. Bakugou's mouth fell open as he watched Kirishima stand up and hold out his arms to the incoming girl. Hey babe. Kiri. Mina swooned at him before falling into his arms. I'm sorry again for being late. I got caught up at a bus accident. I hope your best friend here doesn't want to tear my head off for doing my job. You both are disgusting. Bakugou spat and stood up. And we're running low on time. We might have missed him. Mina blinked. Where's Uraraka? I thought she was going to be here. Bakugou turned to look at the pinkette with a pained expression. She's busy tonight. You should. He trailed off for a moment, whatever. Let's just get this shit over with. Where's the kid? Mina glanced back. She needed to use the ladies' room. She'll be out in a second. Bakugou nodded and held out a wire for Mina to put on. Here. Mina gave him a hesitant look before accepting it. You're being awfully nice today. I'm the new head of operations at the agency. Bakugou scowled at her. I'm not being fucking nice. I'm being professional. Mina quirked her eyebrow at Kirishima before smiling playfully. It suits you, Bakugou. Shut the fuck up, he snapped back rudely. Just because you and Kirishima are, you know what I mean. Mina giggled cynically as she went to work putting on the wire. You mean dating? Kirishima flushed as he watched Bakugou walk away to cool off. I guess you figured out that I told him. Mina shook her head. That guy is somehow both the hardest and easiest person to read on Earth. Whatever. Kirishima laughed it off. Here she comes. They both ignored the fuming blonde and turned to see a young woman jogging up the stairs from the subway exit. She hurried down the sidewalk until she was standing in front of them, flushed and clearly a little nervous. Mina immediately swept an arm around her shoulders and smiled. "Gentlemen, meet one of my agency's second-year interns. This is Ritsu. She's from our alma mater." Bakugou jerked his head around to see the girl. "Oh, you have to be fucking kidding me." Kirishima raised his eyebrows as he glanced back and forth between the young brunette girl and the older blonde. "Wait, you know her?" Bakugou scowled before smacking his friend on the back of the head. "Don't you recognize her, dipshit? This was my fucking greenie this year." Kirishima licked his lips and looked back at the girl. "Oh shit." The girl cleared her throat and frowned. "What? Did you finally recognize my prowess, ground idiot?" "Whoa there." Kirishima pressed a hand to Bakugou's shoulder to push him back. "I remember now. Shit, I guess I didn't really think that hard about it when Mina mentioned her. I must have forgotten." Bakugou clenched his jaw. "I'm having second thoughts about allowing a first-year student to role-play." The girl gawked at him for a moment. "I am not a first year. I'm a second year now. I have a provisional license and everything." Bakugou narrowed his glare at her. "Big fucking whoop. It's hard to believe it's really been that long, but you're still just a punk kid that has no business getting wrapped up in something this fucking serious." "Oh, can it, Captain Jerk?" Ritsu shrugged and pulled her plaid button-up tighter across her chest. "I can handle it." "So, where is this place?" Mina cut in with a tense smile and threw her arm over the girl's shoulder. "Don't worry, Bakugou. Ritsu and I can handle this. She'll be with me after all. Hand it over." She held out her hand expectantly and opened and closed it to demand the trinket. The blonde hero hung back for a moment. He turned a hesitant glance on Kirishima, but the redhead simply shrugged. "Fine. Kirishima, you're going to post up on the corner and I'll just dash." Yeah. Mina rolled her eyes. "We get it, Captain Jerk. Come on. We don't want to miss him, do we?" Bakugou frowned deeply before digging in his pockets and pulling out the keychain. He held it out to the pinkette for a second but pulled it back when she moved to grab it. "Wait. You're on point here, Pinky. Play it smart." He turned to look at Ritsu. "For the kid's sake. She's got shit to do at UA. She's about to have some serious competition." There was a drawn-out and awkward pause before Mina snatched the trinket. "Yeah, I'll be asking you about that one later, Blondie." "Come on, Ritsu." Mina pulled the girl tighter to her side and handed off the keychain. "Let's go to work, huh?" Bakugou's lip twitched as he watched them saunter down the street. He didn't say a word, but Kirishima spoke up for the both of them. "Think they'll be good?" "Teach." Bakugou grunted. "Mina's with her. They'll be fine." The redhead turned a surprised look on his friend. "I swear. That's the first time you've ever called her by name. Shut the fuck up and get into position." Bakugou rolled his eyes and turned away with a scowl. "It's time to pin down a kingpin." The redhead nodded before he caught his friend by the shoulder. When Bakugou turned a disgruntled look over his shoulder, the redhead nodded. "Thanks, Bakugou. I hope this works out. For all of us." The blonde paused for a long moment before nodding. "Shut up." Mina shoved the revolving door of the illustrious office building open while making a point to laugh obnoxiously. "Hurry up or we're going to be late for dinner with your mom. You know how we like to get our drink on early." "Whatever." Ritsu rolled her eyes, following Mina's lead. The pair stopped in the center of the grand lobby, the sound of their footsteps on the marble floor echoing to a silence. "So, should I just dash? Can I help you?" Mina pretended to be surprised by the forcefully helpful tone of the man seated behind an elegant black marble desk. "Oh, sorry, we didn't see you there." She looped her arm through Ritsu's and dragged her forward. "Gosh, we don't mean to just drop in like this, but..." She glanced down at Ritsu. "My niece and I are just trying to help out her friend." The man stood up from his chair as they approached. "The building is closing down for the day, so you'll have to come back tomorrow." "Oh." Mina feigned disappointment. "That's a bummer, isn't it? You see, my niece here has this friend that was locked out of her house. She left her keys with us and asked us to drop them off here for her to pick up the next time she sees her dad." She dug out the keychain, now hooked to a phony set of keys, and jingled them at chest height. The red gemstone eyes of the snake keychain glinted under the futuristic chandelier, and the man paused. Oh, well, if that's all it is, maybe I can make an exception. Oh my. Mina breathed out a false laugh of relief. You are a lifesaver. You hear that, sweetheart? What a nice man he is to help two young ladies out. Do you have a name to leave for pickup? The man reached out to grab the keys, but Mina swiftly pulled them from his reach, skillfully feigning that she hadn't seen him grab for them. Ritsu cleared her throat. Well, I don't really know who her dad is, but dash. Mina clapped the girl on the back, jolting her upright. Speak up. This man is going out of his way to help us here, isn't he? Why don't you thank him by name? The young girl glanced once at Mina for reassurance before turning her gaze on the man and clearing her throat a second time. Sorry. Thank you for helping us. She paused and waited for the man to fill the silence. Hakaru, the man finished for her, and I can assure you that I know everyone that works in this building. What's your friend's name? Maybe I can figure out who her dad is. Mina glanced back at Ritsu, a silent question passing between them. Ritsu gave her a very short nod before speaking up. Cho. The man's face gave absolutely no hint to his reaction. Oh yes, I know her well. She stops by often to visit her father. In fact, I think they may be upstairs now. If you can wait a moment, I can call up and find out. Of course. Mina gave him a beaming smile. You really are so kind to help us. The man gave her an awkward nod before picking up the telephone from atop his desk. Mina slightly craned her neck, watching the numbers he pressed before turning her head away sharply as he put the phone to his ear. She glanced down at Ritsu and found the girl staring intently at the man as an unsteady feeling began to stir in her gut. Sorry to bother so late, sir. The man hushed his tone and angled his body away. I have two young ladies here in the lobby with Miss Cho's keys. Apparently, she's been locked out of the house and asked that they return the keys here. Should I show them up? Ritsu's intense look turned slightly grim, and Mina turned slowly, analyzing the lobby. The keys between her fingers jingled quietly as she did. She could see a shadow leaning against a street light through the window, and she knew it was Bakugou. Of course, sir, the man continued. Yes, I can ask now. He pressed his palm to the bottom of the phone and turned back to Ritsu. Did you say you were a friend from school? Mina felt a swell of pride as Ritsu resisted the urge to look back at her for confirmation before answering. No, not from school. We met through mutual friends. Honestly, we don't really hang out that much, but she left these at my house. The man paused for another moment and considered. And you saw her earlier today? Mina sensed Ritsu's hesitation. Oh gosh, no. My little gal here has been pestering me to drop these off here all day today. Cho stayed over at my sister's house for a few nights last week. She finally called back last night and asked us to meet her here to return them. I'm assuming she's not here? The man held up a finger, nodding apologetically, before uncovering the phone. No, sir. Should I just show them up? There was a long pause before he nodded. Of course. Right away. Mina watched as the man hung up the phone and turned to them. Well, I have to say that Cho's father is very grateful for your thoughtfulness. You see, Miss Cho has been having some trouble keeping curfew, so he would love to sit and ask you a few questions about her whereabouts if possible. Oh. Mina didn't look down at Ritsu. Well, you see, we're running a bit late to dinner dash. I'm sorry. Ritsu cut in abruptly. I don't mean to be rude, but Cho was very specific that I give her the keys back, mister. I'm sorry. What was your name again? The man's lips almost twitched into a frown. Hakaru. Mr. Hakaru, Cho nodded in affirmation. Thank you very much for your help, but I think I should give them back to her myself. I'm sure her dad will understand. Cho can be weird that way, you know? Mina felt the unsettled nerve in her back growing stronger by Ritsu's sudden shift of attitude. Oh, you know how girls can be when they get rebellious. She laughed lightly, hoping to bring back a bit of her spunky charm she led with. I know I was when I was their age. I'm sure she'll call sooner or later, and we'll probably be back then. The man's face turned a bit more stern. It's really no trouble at all. All Cho's father is looking for is some answers on his daughter's whereabouts. I'm sure dinner can wait a few minutes for a worried father. Ritsu took a step back. We're really sorry to waste your time, mister, but we really are late, aren't we, Auntie? Mina felt that unsettled nerve slowly dipping into something a little more dramatic. Why, yes, we are. Your mother will have my head if we're late again. All right, Ritsu immediately replied, her voice giving way to a very subtle tremble. Then we better hurry, huh? Sorry again to waste your time. The man stepped to the side, moving to come around the desk and confront them. One moment, let me at least get your names so that we can let Miss Cho know to call you when we see her. The anxious nerve suddenly jolted the pink heroine's entire body to attention, and she snatched Ritsu by the arm. Come on, honey. We'll just come back later. Have a good night, sir. The pair of women turned away and headed for the revolving door. Mina felt her heart begin to race in her chest as she resisted every common-sense impulse to check over her shoulder. Breaking their cover now would blow the entire operation. One moment, the man called from behind, his footsteps clacking over the marble much more quickly than the girls as Mina prepared for the worst. She glanced up to see that Bakugou's shadow was gone, and she knew that her backup was waiting. There you are, the revolving door swung as a red-haired man burst in with an explosive grin. Gosh, you two really need to stop vanishing every time I turn around. Mina felt her nerves settle at the sight of him. Oh dear, I'm so sorry. I thought you were just going to wait outside. Kirishima didn't break character as he nodded at them, silently communicating for them to continue walking as he stood in place. No worries, but your sister will probably murder me if we're even a minute late. You know how she can be. Oh, I know. Mina's tone turned serious as a grouchy blonde came to mind, and had the situation not been so serious, she might have laughed at the thought. Kirishima eyed the girls as they walked past him before he turned to follow, sparing one last glance at the man who had halted in the center of the lobby. Nice tie. Uraraka licked her lips as she glanced at the digital clock on the wall of the little restaurant. She desperately wanted to check her phone for an update despite the fact that she knew it would ring on its own. Honey, what's wrong? You seem all tied up in knots. She broke her gaze away from the clock to find her mother's concerned features. Sorry, Mom, it's just work stuff. Busy week? Her father asked from his place diagonal of her. He carefully lifted a piece of tempura to his lips as he met her gaze. Uraraka sighed. Yeah, pretty much. It's been a long couple of months. You've found a lot of success here, her mother chimed in again. We're very proud. And worried, her father added at the end. Are you sure you're all right for combat? There's no shame in taking a little extra time to recover from your accident. Uraraka set down her chopsticks and gave her dad a look. Dad, I'm fine. It's time that I got back in the saddle before this case leaves me behind. I need this. She watched as her parents shared a glance, and she inwardly sighed at it. They were good parents to be concerned about her, but they'd been especially worried since Kian. She couldn't really blame them for it, but it was still a little bit annoying. Well, her father nodded at her, as long as you feel confident that you're ready. She gave him a gentle smile. I am. And I'm sorry that I was late. She thought back to her father calling her at work earlier that night and asking where she was. She thought she would die of embarrassment for the fact that she'd forgotten their dinner plans. Well, at least one of you showed up. Her father raised an eyebrow at her. We came all this way to have dinner with this new boyfriend of yours, and he's a no-show? Uraraka flushed and gave her father an apologetic shake of the head. I'm sorry about that too. He has a mission that's really time-sensitive. Oh my, the brunette woman across from Uraraka paled. Did we steal you away from it? I hope that Ed Shot isn't upset by our intrusion or dash. Mom. Uraraka held up a hand and gave her mother a humored but soft smile. I wasn't needed for this one. I was just there for moral support while he planned it. Her father stopped a hearty bite of food from reaching his lips before cocking his head. Planned? Yeah. Uraraka adjusted the napkin on her lap with a small, proud smile. He's the new head of operations. Ed Shot promoted him 2 weeks ago. The older woman broke out into a tremendous grin. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm sure it's well-deserved. It is. Uraraka confirmed with a nod. He's worked really hard, and now he works directly under Ed Shot. It's pretty cool. Her father simply finished chewing his bite before speaking up again. So, your boyfriend is also your boss? The air at the table stilled, and Uraraka found herself biting her lip. WL. No, not really. I mean, he plans my patrols and stuff, but he doesn't really supervise me per se. He's just She paused to try and turn her fumbling thoughts into something coherent to say. Her father wiped his mouth with his napkin before setting down his utensils. He seems like he's accomplished a lot. I looked into him after you told us about him. It doesn't seem like he's much different from when I last saw him. Uraraka raised her eyebrows, waiting for her father to inevitably disapprove. The timing of tonight's mission couldn't have come at a worse time. She'd hoped that a dinner with her parents would help clear the air of all their presumptions, but it was beginning to feel like not having Bakugou there with them was the better idea. That being said, her father tilted his head a bit to maintain his daughter's gaze. We'd still like to meet him formally. If he's going to date my daughter, I'd like to see how he behaves with you. Uraraka's mother took her turn. Our only concern is that it all seems very fast. She glanced at her husband for confirmation. It's only been a few months, and we just want to make sure you're really happy. Uraraka felt her heart swell in her chest. Her parents had always trusted her to make her own decisions. It was rare for them to be nosy, so she could oblige. Katsuki makes me happy. You don't need to worry. What do his parents think? Her father asked suddenly. Uraraka blinked at the question for a second before sitting back. That's a good question. We haven't really talked about that. You should ask him. Uraraka looked away from her father and back at the digital clock. Somehow this dinner was beginning to feel awkward, and she felt guilty for wanting to escape it. Yeah. A silence settled over the table with the exception of the clacking of utensils from the other guests in the restaurant. Old-timey music played above them as Uraraka tried to find a new topic, but her mind kept reverting back to the mission that Bakugou was probably working on at that moment. We understand why you're shy about it. Uraraka's mother spoke up again. You're still very young, so naturally, we're a little concerned. However, she managed to recapture her daughter's attention. You know we'll give him a fair shake. Of course, Uraraka started. This dinner wasn't supposed to be like this, though. I'm sorry I made you take a train all the way in for it. And miss seeing my daughter? Her father chortled. I have to say, it's refreshing to have dinner with you without a boyfriend here. It's been too long. He smiled wider when his daughter blushed. Now tell us about Dash. Uraraka's phone began to ring loudly from where it sat, face down on the table. She immediately grabbed at it and turned the screen upright. Katsuki. Work. She glanced up at her father's knowing smile. I'm sorry, guys. It can wait. She disappointedly moved to set the phone down, but her father held out his hand dismissively. No, please, he nodded at her. It's all right. It's important, right? It is. It really is. Her father shrugged. Then please go right ahead. Uraraka gave them one last guilty smile before answering and pressing the phone to her ear. Hello. There was a muffle on the other end before Bakugou's gravelly voice came through. Fuck, I'm interrupting, aren't I? Uraraka resisted the urge to laugh. A little, but it's all right. How did it go? He was silent for a few seconds before responding. You missed out, round face. Pinky was actually useful for once in her fucking life. A lead. Uraraka hushed her tone, but she couldn't hide her excitement at the prospect. She could hear Mina yelling profanities at him in the background, and she wished she had been there to celebrate beside them. Bakugou grunted amusedly. Try solid grounds for a warrant. What? The brunette couldn't help the smile on her face. Seriously? Yeah. Bakugou didn't even try to hide the irritation in his tone. And now I owe Kirishima $50. You better get a cup of coffee with your dessert because we have shit to do when you're done with dinner. Uraraka glanced up at her parents. Oh, okay. Okay, I will. You're not talking shit at this dinner, are you? Bakugou's voice lowered, and the voices in the background seemed to fade away. They probably already think I'm a lousy fucking boyfriend for skipping out. No. Uraraka couldn't help the laugh on her lips. Of course not. She looked away from her parents again. Well, I might be a little bit. You had it coming. Damn it, round face, he shot back, but the tease in his tone didn't escape her. Quit letting me distract you. Didn't your folks teach you a shred of respect? Damn. She felt an irritated nerve turn into a full blush over the spance of that statement. Why you? I'll call you when I'm on my way. Jerk. She added the last jab in under her breath. That's Katsuki to you. His reply seemed like it was already ready before she even finished speaking. Now hurry the fuck up and quit talking shit. That's my job. You'll pay for that. She resisted the urge to roll her eyes. She could hear him smirk through the phone. We'll see who's paying later. She opened her mouth to reply, but the phone went dead and she was left blushing madly. Her mouth hung open as she pulled the phone away from her ear and stared at the ended call screen like it had offended her. Her father cleared his throat and spoke with a humored tone. That didn't seem like a work call to me. So that's it for today. If you liked the video, leave a like, subscribe, and activate the notification bell. And if you want to contribute to the entire story being illustrated, just read the information in the description below.